College baseball experience of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Get up to $1,000 in deposit match bonus when you sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com with the promo code TCESGPN. And welcome back into the college baseball experience. My name is Noah Bieniek, aka 77. In this form or fashion, long time no see, no talk. Thank you all to tuning in to those short form episodes that I was doing. I was making do with what I could, and unfortunately for Johnny, I went cheap with a hotel and just the Wi-Fi was ass. And then in Omaha, data and cell reception's not the best, especially in the stadium for whatever reason. And my computer weighs 5 pounds. The battery's terrible. I was not lugging this and the podcast equipment to the stadium every single day. So unfortunately, there wasn't truthfully full daily episodes, but there were picks out there daily. But Johnny was also putting out picks himself. And what do you know? Both him and I have futures on the team, both teams, in the final to win the national championship. We're home free. We're doing this for fun. But Johnny, how you doing, my friend? How's the College World Series treated you?
What's up, buddy? It's been great. I think when we did our show the beginning of last weekend, before the first game started last Friday, we kind of talked about it's been a weird year. There is just once in a decade you get a season like this where you get some mid-majors, you get teams that we ordinarily would never have expected, but they had a good weekend and the path broke their way, like a Louisville or maybe a UTSA where it ended up happening, or UCLA or Arizona. And it was a strange collection of everything coming together at once. And in some regard, it's good because it helps broaden the parity of the game. In other regards, it's a little bit more favorable for other teams. But I've enjoyed it, man. I think it was a really interesting way to get involved in the betting markets, especially for the left side of the bracket 1, because there was a lot of even matchups overall, and it really relied on us to do what we've done all year and dig into our handicapper skills and get into the weeds of, hey, overall, it's a pretty even matchup, but here's why Team X has the advantage in this game. So, yeah, it's been good so far. We've had a good College World Series, and we're sitting on an LSU ticket from the preseason. We added a Coastal Carolina ticket before Omaha started, and on the show, I gave out LSU over Coastal Exacta plus 950 on FanDuel. So we're sitting in a winnable position one way or the other.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. When it comes to a future on Coastal, future on LSU, I started off 0-3 in College World Series straight up picks when it came to money lines. I was getting a little cute betting prices rather than teams. That's the number one rule when we get to this time of the year: bet on the team. But it got a little rich for my blood. I was liking dogs early, so started 0-3. It then turned to starting 2-4. But your boy finished 9-4. We cashed our bets in the last 7 straight games there. So it's been quite a roll in the College World Series. I'm feeling pretty good. Plus, like we keep mentioning, we're in the house. Johnny, that first side of the bracket that you mentioned was kind of wide open, and it was a game-to-game basis. And we quite literally saw, Oregon State and Louisville play each other pretty evenly in just 2 straight games where, Oregon State goes in the 9th inning with a lead. Louisville has a crazy couple of swings where they're able to tie that thing up in the top of the 9th. Then in the bottom of the 9th, Oregon State comes back and they walk it off. But in the losers bracket game, when Oregon State needed to turn to another arm that wasn't Dax Whitney or Ethan Kleinschmidt, they kind of got dragged into the mud a little bit, and Louisville's offense was able to put up some good innings, and they themselves were winning 6-3 going into the 9th inning. Oregon State makes the comeback, ties it up, and then Louisville walks it off. That's how tight this bracket was on the left side. That's the example. Johnny, your overall thoughts as Coastal Carolina not only just sweeps in quotation marks, but they literally beat all three teams on the left side of the bracket.
So this is who Coastal Carolina has been all year, man. It sucks because I had Coastal 2 years ago, 200-1 on them to win it all. And obviously it's a very different team now as opposed to then. 23, they were top 10 in almost every major category on offense. They were 6 or 7 bats deep of just pure power and thump, but didn't have much pitching. Their DNA flipped. I mean, Kevin Schnall, he deserves all the credit in the world. He had to replace not just any coach, but a legend in Gary Gilmore, who delivered this program a championship in 2016. And in his first year, he's got his boys 2 wins away from hoisting another title. And he flipped their DNA. This is a pitch-first team with an offense that's hit and speed over power, which is something that we're not used to seeing from Shauna Clear's offense. But it's worked for them. They play their brand of baseball as well as anybody. They do all the little things right. They know how to manufacture runs. They know how to move guys over. They know how to lean into a pitch when they have to. And they have just a stable of arms that can go shut it down. And I think that's why ultimately I liked Coastal the most. I felt they were the most complete team on their side of the bracket. I thought Arizona, if a couple things broke their way, had a chance. Louisville, I didn't love only because of the pitching depth, which proved to be an issue for them towards the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
1 through 9 lineup is really good. They're relentless. They have a stud in Patrick Forbes, and they have a couple guys that can really step up. But just it was not enough pitching. Oregon State, man, I took a lot of shit from the Beaver faithful for something that was completely unrelated because I didn't think they should have been the 8th team, which was the final national seed. I felt Coastal or Oregon at the time should have been. Coastal certainly proved to be a good pick, and everybody equated that to me thinking that they weren't a good team or weren't going to be able to make a run in Omaha, which had nothing to do with it. But my thing about Oregon State, and I talked about this in the early part of the season, like the first or second week, where they have a good team, but my problem with them was they were so reliant on the top of their lineup and a handful of pitchers, Whitney, Kleinschmidt, a couple bullpen guys, that if those guys didn't carry the boat, it's going to be tough for them to win. And that's ultimately what happened. I think Oregon State, made it as far as they did because their top guys performed. They outplayed Florida State. And when even just 1 or 2 of their top hitters are able to really put a stamp on it from the offensive side and a couple of their pitchers are doing their thing, that's why they're able to advance. And we saw the lack of depth really kill them. Like Arquette, Turley, Caraway, Wilson Weber really weren't up to par. Who else is going to do it for them? And that's ultimately what crushed them was their lack of depth. But star power, man, Oregon State had it. I just think Coastal, the reason why I liked them from the jump was because the balance and the completion of their team as a whole. So, I think the Chanticleers were the pick for a reason. And one of the things I loved about them was I felt they had the best weekend rotation remaining in the field Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think that's why they're going to have a chance to win against LSU this weekend.
Yeah, it quite literally might be the best trio of starting pitchers that we saw in this year's NCAA tournament against the best duo of pitchers that we saw in the NCAA tournament this year. So, it was kind of the handicap coming into the College World Series is that these two had a very good shot of meeting each other. I know a lot of people thought that Arkansas may end up in this position. You did a great job at summarizing the left side there. Game 1, Arizona did have Coastal kind of on the ropes. They had Hicks in the ball game who pitched pretty well until, later on. Tony Pluto was just not his weekend, unfortunately. He won Stopper of the Year. He was incredible all season long. He was a big reason why they were even in this place with a great weekend against North Carolina. But that was the most pitches he'd ever thrown this season in a weekend against UNC, and it just maybe taxed him a little bit too much for the College World Series. He's a junior. He might have another year. I don't think a 5'9" right-hander in the low 90s is getting drafted pretty high. So we'll see if he comes back for senior year at Arizona. But then again, the pitching coach, Kevin Vance, took the job at San Diego State. Let's talk about the right side of the bracket where, it was UCLA, Murray State in game 1, and then game 2, LSU, Arkansas. This thing ended up
Sorry.
Oh, goodness. Great.
Sorry.
You're good. This thing ended up kind of how everyone expected with LSU Arkansas re-meeting in the bracket final here. That first game I thought was, not competitive until it was competitive, if that makes any sense. UCLA was up 6-0 in the 4th inning. Nick Schutte of Murray State struggled early with his control, but then really settled in. Didn't give up a hit for a stretch of at-bats there. And Murray State clawed their way back into this game. They left 9 runners on base and lost 6-4. They were very live in that matchup. I'd take the money line again against UCLA, but we saw that pitching staff of the Bruins kind of turn into a pumpkin when we saw them play LSU and Arkansas. And I took the run line in both for the Tigers -2.5, for the Razorbacks -2.5. Those both come through there for me. And then we get to that LSU Arkansas rematch. Gabe Gackel was tremendous in both games. 6 innings, 10 strikeouts, tied the both of them were the most he'd thrown this season, innings and strikeouts. But it wasn't enough because of the early hole that they dug themselves in that second inning with Root on the mound. It just wasn't his day. And, Dave Van Horn had to pull the trigger pretty quickly there to see if he could save the team and, stay in the winner's bracket there. It was the right move because then they were able to bring back Zach Root later on after shorter rest time needed. He throws very well against UCLA. They shut out UCLA as a team. And then we get to that spot. So LSU, Arkansas. Johnny, everybody talking about Vahiva Aloy feeling the ground ball in the shortstop hole, not turning or attempting to turn the double play there. In hindsight, yeah, they probably would have been able to turn 2. The runner was on base, though, because of the what have you. The runner was on second base because of the misplay, I guess, because it wasn't there. Reese Robinette goes over, fields the ground ball on first and second base hole of Derek Curiel, throws the ball behind Cole Gibbler trying to cover first base. And that was just fundamental. Second baseman fields it, first baseman stays home. That's a 4-3 put out. Instead, the ball gets thrown behind Ryder Helfrich, who's backing up first base. Now Derek Curiel's on second base. I think it was a walk. Now you got first and second. Ground ball to Vahiva. Could have turned 2. He gets to force out at third. There's 2 outs in the inning. Luis Hernandez line drive that has some top spin in the left field. Charles Davalin slips because his first step was back and he was trying to adjust going forward. He dives. Ball goes off his right shoulder into the corner. All hell breaks loose. Tie game. Hernandez on second. And then Bear Jones lines a slider from Aiden Jimenez, who came in relief. Lines a slider right back up the middle where Cam Kojal was played, goes off the tip of his glove. And that's all she wrote. Heartbreak for Arkansas once again. Johnny, the Razorbacks seem cursed. Your thoughts on the right side of the bracket here?
All right, well, let's start with the 2 losers here. I think, in all fairness, it's what we discussed, like a lot of other people, that Murray State, UCLA. I have Murray State in that game. I would take him again. Nick Schutte just had a disaster 4th inning where he gave up 4 runs. And, Murray State went down 6-0 and they clawed back. And like you said, they left a small village on the bases. So they realistically could have won that game. And, listen, I think the fact is Murray State's pitching was always going to be what undid them. Their offense had a chance to make up for it, but, at some point, man, how many times can you call upon your offense to bail your pitching out? It's so difficult. And the arms that they were seeing in Omaha it's the cream of the crop. It really is. Murray State obviously goes down. That sucks. We don't get our plus money banger, but the Racers did a good job of making sure we hit several of those throughout the whole tournament.
Yes.
And listen, UCLA wins that game, but in all fairness, we knew LSU had the major advantage. They were in the driver's seat. Anthony Ianson gets hit early. Most of them weren't really hit that hard. It just found the right spot. It gives up a quick 3 spot. Jared Jones, and I went on my boy PJ Glasser's show on Monday and talked about this. I said, listen, Jared Jones went 0 for 5 with 5 Ks in the first game. Jay Johnson pulled him aside. There was a video of it. Pulled him aside, was consoling him, just kind of talking him up, just resetting. And I gave it out. I'm like, I think Jared Jones is going to go deep tonight. Plus 350, bang it. First at bat, he goes deep. So give out a nice cash there. But how about the rebound from Jared Jones, man? You go 0 for 5 in your first game in Omaha, 5 strikeouts. How do you respond? With a monster home run in the bottom of the first inning to give LSU the lead after UCLA sucked all the energy out of that game. Because, that first inning, 3-0 before you even get in the box, in a situation like Omaha, in a sprint, not a marathon type of situation, a lot of things start happening up here. Jared Jones settles that game in, takes the lead. LSU never looked back. Ianson settled in. The rain delay at the time I thought might have hurt them. But Ianson now is pretty fresh going into his matchup on Sunday. And then Jared Jones, man, comes up clutch twice against Arkansas. He hits the home run in the bottom of the 8th to tie the game. And then he hits the game winner to win it in the bottom of the 9th. So I think, when you're looking at it, man, just LSU has it. And that's why I loved the Tigers coming into the year. And that's why I kept the gas pedal down on them, because they have the postseason pedigree. They have an unbelievable head coach in Jay Johnson. They have it. They're built different. And that is also why throughout the year, I was saying this, and you remember, as good as Arkansas was, offensively, their numbers were tops in the country. Their pitching was great. All the talk, they're the most complete roster, the most complete team. This is the best team Dave Van Horn's ever had. I've said it all year. I don't know what it is, but something is missing from this team. I couldn't put my finger on. There was something. And it sounds crazy when you say it, because you look at the numbers on paper, they're not missing anything. But just watching them, just something intangible was not there for this team all year, in my opinion. And that's why I didn't buy them in the postseason. That's why I didn't have a single ticket for them. I had them last year. I had to learn the hard way. And yes, their team last year was nowhere near as good as this year. But it's just that X factor that they don't have, that clutch gene that the Razorbacks do not have in their DNA. Yeah. And that's why ultimately I went against them. But I felt LSU was a matchup advantage. I like their pitching better. I think they have the more high leverage arms. Like, yeah, Arkansas grows guys in their fucking backyard that throws 97 plus, every single one of them. But they don't have that. They don't have that intangible. It was a tough loss, man. I got to be honest. I thought LSU blew it. Chase Shores almost turned that double play. Jared Jones had a big error that would have turned the double play. And not only does the game get tied, but then he lets Wahiva Aloy come around and score the leading run. But then he makes up for it. So LSU making it to this far was what I thought it would be. And that was expected for me. So I'm happy that it's here. I'm happy that we have that. And we're in for a great series, man. We really are. This is going to be one hell of a rematch from 2016 Super Regionals.
My story of the CWS is Gage Wood throwing the no-hitter against Murray State was phenomenal. Probably the best pitching performance I'm going to see in person in my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
19 strikeouts, no hits, no walks. It was technically 1 hit by pitch, but there was really 2. But just absolute domination by Wood. Everything was working for him. That night, I ran into like a lot of Murray State players, which is very cool. So we were able to chat it up. Unfortunately for them, we were in a sports bar, and Sports Center just kept playing the Gage Wood no-hitter on loop. And they were like, yeah, we ran into Jacob deGrom today. and they're talking about how much ride he had on his fastball. And when they would try to adjust, he had a cutter that he was mixing in there, and the curveball was on that day too. It was a phenomenal pitching outing by Gage Wood.
Can I ask you a question about that, actually? Because that was one of the most dominant pitching performances, maybe the most that we'll ever see. I mean, I got to be honest, like a lot of people, I never thought I'd see a better pitching performance in Omaha than what Skeens gave us and what Ty Floyd gave us, but we're staying corrected.
Skeens,
however,
Ty Floyd,
However, and I don't want to be a fly in the ointment here, but I think if he's not playing against Murray State, that's not a no-hitter. Because I counted, and I don't know what it was like for you in person, but on TV, I counted a handful of mistake pitches that he got away with. Like if he was facing like LSU or he was facing Oregon State, I don't think that's a no-hitter. And I'm not trying to damper it, because I'm not trying to take anything away from him, because he was unbelievable. He was so locked in. I don't remember ever seeing a pitcher that locked in my life.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, I don't know if he's throwing a no-hitter against one of those teams.
I know where you're going, and it makes sense. However, what doesn't make sense is that team put up 11 runs per game in the NCAA tournament going into that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So it's like, you could say that about almost anybody that had faced them up until that point. But yeah, I mean, Murray State in that game had some uncompetitive at bats, but I just think that was how good Gage Wood was. And the longest outing he had thrown that year, or I believe it was like 6.1.
Yeah. I think it was 6 against Creighton.
Yeah.
Well, the thing of it is, what I didn't understand with Murray State, Gage Wood is a primary fastball pitcher. That's who he is in his career. He's north of, I think, 50%, or he's about 50% fastballs. Like that's what he does. And like, okay, fine. First time through the order, you're getting mowed down, whatever. But like, to not make an adjustment on Murray State's part, like you're not even going to lay down a bunt at any point. I mean, and if not, they're not sitting fastball. They were late on the fastball, and I understand it's got tremendous ride and it's late life and everything of that nature. And he was getting up to 98, but like towards the 6th, 7th inning, when you've seen this guy just shitting on you for the entire game, you got to cheat fastball. I know he was mixing in the curve and it was really effective, and the cutter was looking good, but like you got to guess fastball every single time. But they're so late. It was looking like he was throwing 105 with how late they were. And I'm like, guys, we're in the 6th, 7th inning, and you're still this late. You got to be guessing fastball more. And I know it's a lot easier said than done. I'm sitting here on my couch watching this when they're standing in the box having to face that. But that was like one thing I couldn't understand. And they didn't shorten up, nothing. It looked completely uncompetitive. It looked like they were going up there expecting to strike out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know it. But it's worth looking into in the offseason what their team's numbers were against fastballs 95 plus, because they don't face that every day in the Missouri Valley. And yeah, they just didn't look comfortable there. So on the flip side of this episode, we're going to dive into LSU, Coastal Carolina, that matchup. But first, I want to talk to you guys about how the college experience, we are delivering team previews for, I think it's all 36, or not 36, 136. Yes, 136 FBS college football teams. Each team will have a team preview on the college experience with Colby Dant and Moneyline Mac. Preview every FBS college football team, and you will not want to miss it. Their best bets finish out every single episode. They will have probably 50 winners of the 136 that they talk about, and the 80 bets that they place. It is consistently Colby's greatest series that he puts out every single year. And I was able to be in Rocco's with Circa this past week. Awesome people, awesome work that they were doing. They supported both Louisville and Murray State in the Jello Shot contest. But right now, I mean, we've teamed up with Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas because they're giving away the ultimate fantasy football experience. For a 12-person league to draft in Vegas and be treated like VIPs during the stay, you'll get a limo ride from the airport, a $5,000 tab for stadium swim, and a hotel stay for you and your 11 league mates. You can always win and get 15% off at all Circa properties with the promo code SGP15. Enter the Ultimate Fantasy Football Contest today for free at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/circa. That is sportsgamblingpodcast.com/CIRCA. And the college baseball experience is also brought to you by mybookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every sport, including the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup. Stanley Cup is over, but you could bet the College World Series over there too. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of different locations. It's easy to deposit, and you can get lightning fast payouts using crypto. Head over to mybookie.ag, promo code TCESGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. That is mybookie.ag, promo code TCESGPN. And we are back here on the college baseball experience. Myself, Noah Bieniek, joined alongside Johnny V Television. And on the television, the entire weekend, including possibly Monday, will be the College World Series finals. We have LSU against Coastal Carolina in a best-of-3 series. The series price, LSU to win the national championship, which means they have to take 2 of 3, is minus 190. Coastal Carolina, in order to win the series, to win the national championship, they are plus 155. Game 1, LSU is minus 166 with Cade Anderson on the mound against Coastal Carolina, who's plus 130 with Cameron Flukie bumping for them. It's assumed that Game 2 is going to be Anthony Ianson against Jacob Morrison, and it's assumed, again, this one might be a little bit more of a stretch because Kason Evans could come in relief, but he could be the starter for LSU in Game 3 against Riley Eichhoff of Coastal Carolina. Johnny, I'll let you lead off with the handicap. Take it with the series, the Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, however you want to phrase this, picture it for the listeners and the viewers. Go ahead and take the lead.
So if you didn't get involved on anything LSU or Coastal at the start of Omaha, where we talked about, well, not just riding the LSU ticket from all year from the preseason, but I gave out LSU over Coastal exact result plus 950 that you could find on FanDuel at the start of Omaha. So if you missed that, or you missed Coastal 6-1, or you missed LSU, and you're looking to get involved, I think LSU minus 190 is a little steep.
Yeah.
I personally think this is a 3-game series. I think Coastal Carolina is not a pushover Cinderella team. It's not who they are. This team can pitch. And furthermore, I think the fact is, like, they're a very gritty team. They've been faced with, well, you're just a mid-major, you're not that good, the path broke your way, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now, they've earned the right to be here, man. They're a good team. It's not like if it was Louisville or Arizona made it. I think the Chanticleers have a legitimate chance to win, and I'm going to start with that. If you like LSU, I wouldn't be laying 190. And again, we're assuming that you don't have anything on college baseball at all.
Yeah.
So the way I would attack this, and the way I see this going, LSU wins Game 1, close. Coastal wins Game 2 with I don't know if it's a pitching advantage, but with Jacob Morrison going into Anthony Ianson in Game 2. Tight, close. And then Game 3, I think LSU is going to find a way to win.
Okay.
So the fact is, you have Cade Anderson going tomorrow. This is their guy. Jay Johnson took a big gamble at the start of the season by naming a guy who was a midweek starter / bullpen piece in 2024 into his Friday role, into his ace spot, and it's paid off 100-fold. Cade Anderson has not only moved from a possible second rounder into the first round, but he's only gone higher in his pre-draft rankings. He is looking like not just a top 5 candidate, but somebody that has real juice to go 1-1. We're going to talk about the 1-1 markets that are up towards the end of the show. Anderson has pitched unbelievably this year. This kid has the makings and the look, in my opinion, of the next Shane McClanahan. He's got big Shane McClanahan vibes, from his pitchability to his arsenal to his killer instinct to just the way he goes about and attacks hitters. Leading the nation 170 strikeouts. Anderson has been money. The one bugaboo this year for him, which has bloated his ERA into the 3.4s, is the 16 home runs he's allowed. But his Sierra is sub 2, which kind of factors out some of the unlucky stuff and kind of cuts through the ERA and makes it more true. And the fact is it's a little bloated. It's a little bit misleading. But Anderson, going against a Coastal Carolina team that's only got 66 home runs this year, only has 2 players in double-figure home runs, which I don't think Coastal's hit a home run in the entire College World Series in a very big ballpark.
They haven't.
So that favors him. He's not a big pitch-to-contact guy. He doesn't allow a lot of hits. His opponents are only batting like .217 against him. So the fact is this matchup really favors Anderson. He's going to dominate you with mid-90s, touching like 97, 98 with his fastball that has a lot of movement, where he's going to hit you at the top of the zone. Then he's going to buckle you with a slider curveball combo towards the bottom. So ultimately, I think Cade Anderson, as long as he keeps up his pristine command, which is only like 30 walks in 110 innings this year, it's going to be really good for them. But furthermore, he's got to get ahead early. He's got to be living first pitch strike most of the at-bats. You don't want to start falling behind Coastal because they know how to work a walk. They know how to get on base. But I think Anderson is a big advantage here against an offense in Coastal Carolina that's going to live to try and string together 3 or 4 hits in a row, or get on with a walk or hit by pitch and get 2 in a row, because they know how to manufacture runs. But Anderson, to me, especially the way through against Arkansas earlier in the week, is such a big advantage in my opinion, because then you look at Cam Fluke. Like every one of these Coastal starters, they've had monster turnarounds from last year. And in Jacob Morrison's case, from 23, because he recovered from TJ last year. Cam Fluke's got big strikeout stuff. He's the big strikeout guy of this Coastal staff, and he's had an unbelievable year. He struggled a bit in Omaha. He's given up 5 earned over 9 innings.
And really control too.
Yeah, and really, like, he hasn't – the teams he's dominated this year were – I mean, they were like middle of the pack at best Sunbelt teams in a down Sunbelt year. He hasn't faced an LSU offense, an offense that's red hot right now, that's got 4 guys in double-figure home runs, that's got 6 guys with a 300 or better average, a team that knows how to come up with a big hit as well. And the hottest hitter in this tournament is Jared Jones. I feel like Cam Fluke can go 4 or 5 innings, 2 or 3 runs, keep his team in the game. But I think with a full complement of weapons in the bullpen, it favors LSU here. So in conclusion, if you want to bet LSU to win the series, I would save yourself the 24 cents and bet them money line game 1, so you don't have a liability for them to win 2 games, because you'd win the same amount of money. I like LSU with Cade Anderson here. They've won 16 of his 18 starts, and the way he's throwing right now, this kid is just locked in. So give me the LSU Tigers in game 1. I'll kick it over to you for your thoughts.
Pretty quick thoughts, honestly, from me. The wind's been blowing in the entire College World Series, but it hasn't been blowing in as hard as it's going to be in game 1 and game 2. I was walking around today in the Omaha Baseball Village. The wind was blowing at 20 miles an hour today. It's going to be around the same for game 1 and game 2 in from center field. This place is going to play like a graveyard. 1, excellent pitching from both sides. 2, outstanding defense for both teams. 3, unders in game 1 and game 2, over in game 3, because then the wind after there's like a little rain cell early Monday, which would be possibly game 3. After that kind of funnels through, the wind kind of reverses and it's strong out to center field. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So it was like 10 to 15 miles an hour game 3, and obviously that's your third starter. So for LSU, they've kind of struggled with naming a consistent third starter, and honestly, who knows how aggressive Jay Johnson may play with the bullpen in games 1 and game 2. Who knows what arms will be available? Same thing for Coastal. Those pitching staffs will be thin. The wind's blowing out. There's chances for more runs in that game 3, obviously, and that's probably where I'm aiming you for the third one. So under, over. And as for if you don't have anything coming into this, because I'm sitting on an LSU and a Coastal Carolina future, and so is Johnny, this is my suggestion for you. Take Coastal Carolina to win the series, plus 155. I think it's a good price. They're a very quality team. I'm not going to be able to name everything that they're good at because they have plenty of strengths. I wrote an entire feature story over at 11point7.com from talking with Kevin Schnall in post-game press conferences the entire weekend, the entire week, honestly. Even added like what Jay Johnson's scout is on the Chanticleers. I just feel like they've been an undercovered team. So I went in depth on, trends that they've had throughout the year. So go over there and read that. Because like I said, it's just way too long. I wouldn't be able to include it all in this pod. I think they can win the series. I legitimately think that Coastal Carolina could win 2 games against LSU. I'm with Johnny, though. Like, I think that here's how I think it's going to be priced, and this is why you should take Coastal Carolina plus 155. Game 1, LSU is probably going to be like a minus 166 favorite, like they are right now. It'll close around minus 180 because people will bet LSU. Game 2 will probably open around minus 130 with Anthony Ianson on the mound. Again, another arm that a lot of people have watched throughout the season. It'll probably close around minus 150. You don't really want that either with Jacob Morrison on the bump. However, with game 3 come around, if we get there, if not, hopefully Coastal Carolina takes this thing in 2. If not, LSU minus 190, you had to lay $2 to make 1. That's just what happens with college baseball and a money line sport. Sometimes this is the way it breaks, and the bookies, the sports books, the traders are just trying to balance the money on both sides. A lot of people are going to be betting LSU here. So if we get to game 3, Eichhoff and Kason Evans or Eichhoff and Zach Cowan, I have that almost even. I think it's once again going to be like LSU's minus 120. They close around minus 140. But that's when you take LSU. You grab a little bit of profit on both sides when LSU is going to be the cheapest. And you can try to make a profit. And that's my plan of attack in the series. If you don't have anything entering the College World Series finals. Johnny, anything else that you have to add on this? Before people even click off this episode, by the way, we're going to be talking about MLB Draft 1-1 odds released last week. So stay tuned. Don't leave the episode just because we gave out our 2 picks. But Johnny, any other thoughts on LSU Coastal before we move on?
All I'll say is I think we're going to see a lot of great pitching in this series. There's arms are plentiful in this weekend series. For LSU, we could see 2 top 20 picks. Ianson's a guy I've been talking about all second half as one of my biggest risers in the draft, with a Cade Horton-esque like jump from obscurity to the first round. Morrison, is a guy that's knocking on the door in the top, I would say, 30 picks. And if he has a good start here, I think he can find himself in the late 20s. There's definitely a lot of good stuff to be had here. And I'll say this: don't be afraid to lay the juice with LSU in game 1. I think game 1 is a really good spot for them. I think Kate Anderson is just somebody that you have to be batting. You have to be betting. And listen, if Coastal manages a way to string together a bunch of hits against him and score, tip your cap to him. But the fact that Anderson's been as dominant as he is this year, his numbers don't even really do him justice. Like, this kid is a horse, man. This kid is good for 6 or 7 innings nearly every time out. And he doesn't even have to have his A-plus stuff to beat you. But when he has his A stuff, he's damn near unhittable.
Yep. That's probably the bigger SP advantage of the entire series. right there, game one, LSU. That's why they're probably going to be the largest, sized price in the three games during game one. After this quick break, we're going to talk MLB 1-1. But right now, over on Underdog Fantasy, they are going along with the NBA Finals. We're entering Game 7. I want you to jump in there and enter their pick'em platform and have some fun. Sign up today with the promo code TCE SGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time offer, deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCE SGPN. And you've also heard us at SGPN talk about rhythm before, and they just dropped a game-changing feature called Power Trends. These are AI-detected patterns where a rhythms model has consistently won and has a high return on investment. Power Trends are updated daily and are exclusive to Rhythm. There are no touts, no noise, just clean data-backed bets. Download the Rhythm app today and check out Power Trends and start betting smarter, because you know that we at SGPN will be. So get your 7-day free trial today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And we're back here on the College Baseball Experience. Myself, Noah Bieniek, joined alongside Johnny Venezia, Johnny VTV. You can follow him on social media at _Johnny VTV. And we're talking about a topic that he is pretty passionate about every single season. We have, 1-1 MLB draft market odds out right now. I think it's the earliest we've seen them before during the College World Series, certainly. We had opening odds earlier on this week. Johnny actually caught them, tweeted them out, put them out on X or the Bird. Current odds for 1-1 over on DraftKings is Ethan Holiday. By the way, 1-1, the number one overall pick is owned by the Washington Nationals. Ethan Holiday is -110. Kate Anderson's +230. Seth Hernandez is +900. Liam Doyle is 12-1. Same with Jamie Arnold. Ivar Arquette is 13-1. Billy Carlson is 65-1. Kyson Witherspoon is 80-1. And Jason Laviolette is 150-1. Any other player is +1,500. Johnny, in that tweet, you gave out a couple of picks. I'll let you once again that lead off on this. How have you handicapped the 1-1 market, at least at opening, and what lines have you had good CLV on? And do you have any picks that maybe have moved in the opposite way that you were expecting?
Yeah, so let me start by saying this. It's tough for me sometimes to separate what I think should happen versus what actually happens. And it's not – it's just based on what I've seen and what a team's needs are. So for reference, the Washington Nationals, we're a team that's really hit some big guys in the draft in the last couple of years. But I would be remiss in saying if I didn't think Seaver King was a reach. Top 10, they go the Wake Forest hybrid middle infielder / outfielder, Mookie Betts sort of comp to a much lesser degree, obviously. Seaver King was really good at Wake Forest last year, but I did not think he was worthy of a top 10 pick. They passed on a guy like Braden Montgomery, who was recovering from a broken ankle, but who had real top 5 juice before that happened. They passed on Trey Savage, who they desperately have needed starting pitching for a while. You look at their major league roster right now, other than really Mackenzie Gore, they don't have anybody that you can truly rely on. And I think it's fair to say Gore is not an MLB ace at this point. He's really good, but he's not an ace. And even if he was an ace, they still don't have anybody else. And in their farm system, it's not really that deep. I mean, Cade Cavalli was supposed to be really good, but he's recovering off Tommy John. So you don't really know what you're going to get from him in the future. DJ Hurst is a young pitcher that they were expecting from, but it really hasn't panned out yet with injuries. So the pitching was something that I felt that they could have gotten last year, and they opt to go with Seaver King, another infielder. And even if you're going to go that way, there was better options than Seaver King. So I have questions about their draft style. Now, coming into this year, we're back in the same boat. This team's infielding prospects, whether it's in the farm system or what's on their current roster, is loaded. They have a ton. So why are they going to look at another infield prospect? A, and B, why are they going to get somebody it's not like it's not like you're getting a Bobby Witt or you're getting somebody that's just out of this world. So I don't understand that, and that's where like my personal feeling comes from. But I'll say this. I have to kind of go with what I've read and what I've heard. Ethan Holiday has been mocked as the Washington Nationals go-to for a while. Jace Lavalette was a guy I felt was probably going to be the 1-1 pick coming into the year, but he had a down year, and it kind of exposed some flaws in his game that he may get out of the top 10 at this point. So now with this draft being wide open, where we could say, especially in the college field, this draft is better than 2022, but it's certainly down from 23 and 24. Like, there's good players, but there's no like legit, oh, I got to have it. So in this regard, Ethan Holiday's been mocked as the guy that was going to probably be the 1-1 pick, whether I agree with it or not. So that's why I grabbed Holiday plus 115 on DraftKings when I had the opportunity. There's still minus 110. It's good value. I gave him out at 3 units because I felt there's a really good chance that happens. But at the time, Cade Anderson was 430 on FanDuel, and I think he had just come off throwing a dominant outing against Arkansas. So me watching Anderson all year and seeing how his arrow is pointing straight up and the projectability, which is the most important thing for MLB scouts and teams, is what a projectability is. Anderson made sense to take a shot on because if he had another good outing in the College World Series, which if he does tomorrow against Coastal Carolina, the rumors are going to get loud. And for a team that needs a pitcher, Anderson's available. Also, Jamie Arnold, who I feel is the best pitcher in the country, who's done it for 2 years, who hasn't even filled out his body yet, who's just going to continue to get better, is certainly live. And I looked at it as, all right, Seth Hernandez, I don't think he's going to go. He's a high school arm. He's super talented. He's committed to Vanderbilt. But I just didn't feel like they were going to take a pitcher that's out of high school, especially with the college pitchers that you have here. So he's out. Liam Doyle, I don't see it. Liam Doyle is the least polished out of Cade Anderson, Kyson Witherspoon, Jamie Arnold, in my opinion. Then we're looking at Ava Arquette. All right, we're getting away from the pitchers here. Say, for whatever reason, the Nationals want to pick up their 50th infield prospect. Ethan Holiday's not out of this world. He's a very good prospect with a good potential for a future, but he's a big name. He's got the bloodline. His brother went 1-1 a few years ago. His father was a fucking superstar in the major leagues. But if you're interested in that same position, why would you not take a shot on Ava Arquette, who has been one of the best players in the country this year? He played at a very high level at a program like Oregon State, who did really well. He's got crazy projectability. So him at 14-1, 15-1, whatever it is worth a shot, in my opinion, if they ultimately elect to go with that position, but they want to go with somebody more experienced. So all in all, I felt I've cornered the market most likely on the 4 guys that have the best chance of going 1-1 with Holiday, Anderson, Arquette, and Arnold. I don't see Hernandez going. I don't see Doyle going. I think Billy Carlson, Eli Willits, those are guys that are like very outside chances, but they're not even the best at their position at the high school level, let alone the college level. So that's why I'm off of those guys. So if you haven't seen my tweet from June 15th, I gave out Holiday plus 115 3 units, which is steep, and I don't agree with it, but I'm just kind of going with what I've read. Anderson plus 430, which has since moved. Arquette 12-1 at half unit, and Arnold 13-1 half unit. Most of this is still good. And if one of those picks happens, then you would come away with a profit. So all in all, I think they're going to go with a college arm, Holiday, or Arquette.
Yeah, pardon me. I was scrambling looking for my MLB way too early 2025 MLB mock draft, where I think last December I wrote this. My number 1 pick was Ethan Holiday. it kind of remains Ethan Holiday. So Brad Cholik is the Nationals' new senior director of amateur scouting. He came from the Orioles organization. The Orioles, they use like a draft model where they always just take out tooled hitters early in drafts, first round through third round, top 100 picks. They're always kind of position players. Cholik was part of the O's collection that selected Jackson Holiday first overall. So now that he has final say and in a new role with the Nationals, I think Jackson's worked out pretty good where he climbed the ranks of the minor leagues pretty quickly. Ethan Holiday is more physical, a little bit slower, but it's not anything like bad, like he's slow. He's still an average runner, good fielder. He's bigger. That goes with the more physical, and he's got more power. I think that guy is your 1-1. And that's kind of the way the market thinks as well. This could very well turn into a situation where we saw, who was 1-1 last year?
Bizana.
But so Bizana is not really the example that I was looking for. Well, anyways, this could turn into an example where it backfires on me. And by not jumping on Ethan Holiday right now at minus money at number 1 overall, he could close like minus 1,500 for all I know. Yeah. But at the same time, this entire market is dictated by what the MLB Draft Insiders tweet out and release and put out stories for. And all it takes is a little bit of buzz on Cade Anderson in the College World Series. All it takes is a little bit of buzz on a Seth Hernandez, who I think is a great arm. He's a high school pitcher who's throwing in the high 90s. He's not going to make it to Vanderbilt, but that's where he was committed to. That's my top 3, honestly, right now. I think Jamie Arnold is also a quality lefty, but he didn't have the greatest year his junior season at Florida State. He's just outside that top 3 for me. And yeah, the college hitting crop's just not tremendous in my opinion. So yeah, I think they go high school position player, Ethan Holiday, who Cholik's already got really good connections with the family and knows Ethan, I'm sure. So I think the Nationals go Ethan Holiday. Just wait for some buzz to go out about one of the other guys going possibly number 1 overall. Ethan Holiday will fall to plus 150. That's where I'm going to look to grab him. But I don't want any interest in laying minus money at 1-1. But that's how I view this entire market here.
I think you're spot on. And it's important to remember this. It doesn't matter what draft it is. Every year there's smoke screens the day of or the day before. Yeah. We've seen it every year. Like 2 years ago, it was unbelievably Max Clark is going to go 1-1 to the Pirates when you had Skeens, Cruz, and Langford out there. Like only an idiot would buy that. It was Walker Jenkins or Max Clark that might go in. I'm like, who is passing on Skeens or Langford or even Cruz? So you always get that kind of stuff. I mean, last year, JJ Weatherholt picked up some buzz, which last year was really tough because last year there was legit 7 different players that could have went, in my opinion, that could have went 1-1. Like last year's college crop was disgusting. So it was tough last year. And, I wrote up an article about it and I said, like, don't fall for the smokescreen. There's a reason why Holiday's a favorite. And again, I don't agree with it. I don't think it's a bad pick, but I don't think it's the right pick considering the Nationals makeup of the roster and overall the talent that's in this class. But, it's important to make sure that like you're not trying to chase the steam. So say, for instance, hey, the Nationals really like Liam Doyle. Liam Doyle, it's drawn a lot of praise among Washington's front office. And then boom, before you know, Doyle goes from 11-1 to like 3-1. Like that's the steam that you got to avoid because if you've watched it, the chances are they're not going to throw Doyle because Doyle is the least polished of the 4 top starters. And it doesn't really make sense why they would get him over some of the other guys. And, for instance, something like last year even, and I talked about this, like Bazana being the 1-1 pick was the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. It wasn't a bad pick, but he's not.
I told you it was happening though.
So this is what I was talking about, like what I think should happen versus what should actually happen.
Yeah.
Like I said, in fact, I don't understand how a team could pass on a literal titan in Jack Caglione or even Charlie Condon. Like Kurtz would have been a great pick, or Chase Burns if they wanted to go pitcher, because like I said, I think Burns has the higher MLB ceiling than Paul Skeens at some point in his career.
Middle infielders were just their Cleveland's draft strength. That's who they developed.
Yeah, and you could have got a better one in JJ Weatherholt. You got a guy who's better. He's not as flashy, but he is, in my opinion, a better prospect. So
Bazana's all up here. It's really good makeup. He'll be a pro.
It's not a bad. No, I never said it was a bad pick. It was just it wasn't the right pick.
Yeah.
But this is what we have to do when it comes to the draft. So like, I can sit here and say, hey, I don't think Ethan Holiday is the right pick. It's not a bad pick, but this is a team that has a surplus of infield prospects and young players.
Yeah.
They need pitchers. Or if you're going to get another infielder, why wouldn't you get an established Oregon State star in Ava Arquette, who's a beast, who's 6'5", who hits tanks, who hits for average, he hits to all fields for power. Like it doesn't compute for me. But we're reading the tea leaves, and Ethan Holiday's there. And truthfully, at this point, I probably wouldn't lay minus 110, but it's inevitable that we're most likely going to get steam or a report from somebody else. And when that happens and Ethan Holiday switches back into the plus money range, that's when you buy.
Yeah. Because
I'll be honest with you, unless Kate Anderson goes out there tomorrow and throws like 8 shutty with 12 strikeouts, I don't know if somebody else is going to go. But I took the position because I think it's a possibility, and I wanted to make sure I cornered the market and come away with a win, because we're only getting this on the 1-1 pick. Like there's the rest of the draft that we're going to be able to bet. So as long as we lock in a profit to start, like I got crushed last year on the first overall pick, and I still ended up having a really good overall draft. So, it's important to note that. And the second you see Holiday at plus money, I'd bang it for probably 2 or 3 units, because chances are he's going to go. Just the connections to the new general manager and the head of scouting, just what we've been reading all year. It's hard because a lot of times we get guys that have big postseasons and they rise aggressively, but very rarely do we get that where a guy jumps to 1-1. Like Kate Anderson, for probably most of the year, was top 15. Recently, I would say about a month ago or so, he jumped into like top 5. I would say if Ethan Holiday doesn't go, it'll probably be Kate Anderson, but that's really a preference, because you have to, right now, like you have to understand like a team's preference. Do you want another hitter, or do you want a pitcher? Because that's 2 completely different paths. That's like taking a defensive lineman when you need a pass rush, or taking a quarterback for the future. It's 2 different paths.
Yeah. Yeah. The entire first half was all very well said about just being on the right side of steam and not trying to follow steam. I agree every step of the way there. And then it really, I've never had success betting on the MLB draft. I think it's an absolute crapshoot. It's just fun to do. But trying to understand how the front offices think, and if there's trends in how they draft typically in, a position that they develop well, or whether they value model hitters where, exit velocities are through the roof, blah, 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 or pitchers with good IVB, spin rates through the roof. It's always good to try to do some digging. The information is out there. You just got to find the right kind of articles and whatnot. Each year I learn more and more about it, but haven't quite got there yet. And I'm also waiting for this market to get a little bit wider for us. Johnny, that's the bulk of our show that we've wrapped up now. Anything that you'd like to say before we get out of here? Because this is the last episode where we're talking ball, where we're predicting what's going to happen. That's our strength. when it comes to college baseball, is prognosticating what's going to happen on the diamond and the action. Anything that you want to say to the college experience fans and listeners that have taken you in? How's your experience been so far this season? Yeah, I guess open floor for you, buddy.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this with you all year. I'm glad that you gave me a call the start of the new year. That we wanted to do some more stuff together. I felt we didn't really get an opportunity to do as much as I think either of us would have hoped for. So I'm happy that we're able to do it, and I'm so happy that I was able to be on this show with you this year and talking to a great audience. And I'm glad that you guys were along for the ride with us. It was a really great year, and I look forward to doing it, for years to come. I'll leave you with this one last thing. Golden Spikes is going to be announced tomorrow.
Yeah.
I sent out a tweet earlier, and I've kind of been feeling this. It's most likely going to be either Aloy or Lodi's, because Doyle, the pitchers, if Paul Skeens didn't win, nobody's winning. Like Kevin Kopps, that was like an odd year, but and the game's changed a lot in the last 4 or 5 years, but assuming it's one of the hitters, this is going to be the worst resume a hitter only has had since 2012 Mike Zunino. That's not a knock. That's a fact. You go back and look at it, every winner pretty much has had either close to a 400 average and or 20 plus homers. So Lodi's has had a great year, and truthfully, the reason and it's crazy because I took a ton of Golden Spikes action. I didn't take either one because the chances are if somebody jumping up their average 100 points from one year to the next is so unbelievably it never happens. Like Cags did it, but that's Cags. Lodi's did it. Aloy jumped like 80 points in average. But when you look at it, I personally think Lodi should win. His average is 394. He had a great year defensively. I think he won ACC Defensive Player of the Year. And historically, the batting average has always been weighted higher. So, like, the guys that win usually are the ones that are hitting close to 400 or hitting 400. Occasionally, you get like Melendez, who bat 380 with 32 homers, but he had 32 homers. Or Chris Bryant, who had 31 homers. But if you go back and look, Mike Zunino was the last time a hitter only has had a resume as underwhelming as what we have here. While I think Lodi should win, I think Aloy is going to end up winning because they sucked the SEC nonstop and Arkansas made the College World Series. But if I'm going to say this, if Wahiva Aloy wins the Golden Spikes batting 350 with 21 home runs, there's something seriously wrong. The fact that we know Rock Chalowski got absolutely bent over by not being a finalist. You could put Andrew Fisher maybe in that boat. Ike Irish had a chance.
You came around on Fish.
What?
You were always like, Tennessee doesn't have the guy.
He became the guy, but I mean, he became the guy. But I mean, listen, I still don't think he's the guy in comparison to like Simo or like Burke. Like that's the guy. He's their guy, but like the guy. But in any case, I mean, if you look at it side by side, Aloy has not had as good of a year as Lodi's, statistically at least. But if Aloy wins at batting 350 with 21 home runs, which is a great season, but that's not Golden Spikes material.
Yeah.
It's hard to compare to somebody like Condon, who Condon had like a 430 average with 37 homers. Like that's just never going to happen. But, even the year before where Cruz won it, batting 420 with 18 homers. You know what I'm saying? So it was overall down year. I wouldn't expect this kind of thing to happen from year to year. Make sure you circle next season the draft eligible guys, which I think Chalowski was snubbed because he's not draft eligible. That was one of my prerequisites I talked about way back in the winter time. I mean, we're gonna have a loaded field next year, man. It's gonna be Chalowski, Burris, Cuvée, Gracia, Grahovac's gonna be there. Justin LeBron So it'll be a really good field.
Yeah, we talked about coming into the season how light it was position player talent wise. Like there wasn't a couple of superstars. You had Chase Laviolette returning, but outside of him, it wasn't really a for sure thing of how many slam dunk first rounders we had that were college bats. So yeah, it should be a much more fun season next year with returning talent. But Johnny, I appreciate your company on this show throughout the season, giving me an extra person to talk to. I value that a shit ton. That not doing shows alone every single weekend. I loved your company, and thank you for jumping in, filling in, because my season's kind of been hectic with the deal with 11.7 didn't even get fully approved until literally opening day. So I wasn't sure what I was really doing this season with like full coverage. But the college experience has been something that, I built the baseball show from the ground, and I enjoyed sharing that platform with you. And I hope that it continues to, treat you well, and you reap the fruits of your labor that I know you've worked a lot of very hard on, and a lot of hours into college baseball this season, and helped me with the show plenty. So I appreciate the time, because some of these nights are not easy doing the show, but it's been fun. And we are going to 1000%, everybody that's watching, we are staying in touch. Johnny's got the invite to come onto the show next year as well. So hopefully that is the case. But for now, when it comes to giving out picks on the college baseball experience, we'll be back for a draft preview or something when the market fully gets put out there. But for now, I bid you one last adieu, talking baseball, predicting baseball, college version. This has been the college baseball experience. You better start thinking about yours.